And so what did you mean by that question, and why do you think those two things can be linked?
I mean, for me as a believer, faith is such an essential part of every aspect of my life, including my creativity. Obviously, in everything I do, I want to glorify God. And, I think there was such a stretch of time for me where I didn't really see a lot of nuance in that. It's like in my head, there were people who worked in ministry and then there were people who didn't. And where I feel like the Lord has kind of softened my perspective in that is, I know we get kind of hung up on these titles, even when you're in the bookstore. It's like there's Christian writing, and then there's other types of writing. But I think there's so much nuance there. And what does it look like? I create in a lot of secular spaces or spaces that are not explicitly ministry based. And how can I continue to carry out hope and light in this world? How can I be a steward of God's glory in my art,
Yeah,
even when I'm sharing it in not explicitly Christian spaces? I don't know if I'm
love
answering your
that.
question well, but like that's
Yes,
sort
you
of
are.
what comes to mind for like how does faith influence your writing? It's like for me, it influences everything I do. And I would hope that it's really influencing in the spaces that I'm a part of that aren't explicitly ministry.
I agree. Have you ever heard of Marianne Richmond? She writes a lot of kids' book. One of them is like, they're all over Target. So next time you go look, it's like, if I could keep you little, I'll send you some of them. But
Okay.
I had a conversation with her years ago, and she said, "Oh, I'm a believer, and I wanted to be in every secular bookstore. And so I put all the principles of God, but I never say his name." And she is literally
Yeah.
teaching
Mm,
just kindness and love and all that. But she did it
mm,
by design. It was like to start
mhm.
tugging on the hearts of people that would not go to a Christian bookstore, that would not. And so it's really beautiful that she was intentional about that. And so as if you ever see her books, you'll read through it and go, oh my gosh, this is straight out of John. It's like love God, love others, or whatever. But as I read that question, how it landed with me was my particular lane of creativity right now is giving gifts. And I love giving gifts. And I love being really, really creative about giving gifts in a way that people feel so seen. That's like, oh my gosh, how did you even like, because I think you can feel so unseen as a mom and a woman. Like you're just dying to self and you're giving everybody everything all the time. And so every now and then you'll just give a teacher a gift or a mom down the street or something that you've paid attention to them and they just feel this deep sense of like, notice me.
Mhm.
And hopefully they go like, okay, God can prompt me to create something that you knew. You know what I mean? So it's like this huge, cool connection. And it's happened to me. I've told the story a million times, but there was one birthday that I was feeling really bad and fat and lonely. And I just said, God, how do you see me? And as soon, it wasn't audible, it was like lovely. And I was like, well, I feel the opposite of lovely. So I was like, well, that's interesting. And so about 2 hours later, I go to my, see if I still have it. I go to my, it's somewhere here, go to my door, and my neighbor had left a card and it said, "You are so lovely" on the front. Is that not so cool? And I
I
was like,
love that.
so I tell her this story, and she said that morning, she was like, Lord, I just don't feel like I'm impacting many people. I want to
Mm,
use my life to impact people. Will you help me impact just in the little things of the day? And then
mm.
she went about and found that card that she'd had for years and put it on my doorstep. So all that to say, like, for me, that's been a fun way, like, even just graduation gifts and gifts for my kid to be really creative and thoughtful and just, not that gift cards are bad, but like have put a little bit of thought into them for ways. But
I love that, Court. I mean, number one, I will definitely make sure you have my mailing address after this call in case you want to send me a gift. No pressure. But I love that. And I think it really speaks to, faith element of creating and not always knowing what impact our words are going to have. I mean, I'm thinking right now of the quote you just shared by Brian Doyle. Like, how could he have possibly known what an impact that quote was going to have on me? That quote moved me. I love it so much. I loved it so much. I wanted it to be the very beginning of my book. And yet he will never know the impact that
yeah,
had. And so often we're out here, we're creating things, we're writing things, we're sharing things. We don't know where it's going to land. I can't tell you how many times I've gotten an email from someone who says, I've been reading your work for 10 years, but I've never left a comment. And I'm like, oh, they say it almost as a confession. And I'm like, that's okay. I'm not doing this for the comments, but I appreciate the sentiment
yes,
there. But all of that is to say, like, God is working and moving all of the time in every single thing we do.